Jerkbait fishing, to me, is the most difficult way to catch a bass by far, because it's a bait that you can't just cast and retrieve it like you can a lot of crankbaits and spinnerbaits and jigs and worms. It's something that the action on the bait is totally imparted by the angler. That's what makes the technique so difficult. But finding out the proper retrieve, the cadence, is the big key on this. And when you're in cold water, one of the things I found out's the best is throw the bait out there, crank it down, down to its maximum depth, jerk it and retrieve it. Once you get that bait down at its maximum depth, everybody thinks jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, jerk, pause, let it pause, cold water. One of the things I found on this deep diving jerkbait, like the 110+2, is sweep your rod up to 12 o'clock like that. Take the slack out, sweep it up again once it's in its maximum depth, and when you sweep it up to 12 o'clock, twitch the rod tip real hard, just like that. And what that does is that keeps the bait in the same position, but you're not having much forward momentum in the cold water, which is key. And basically it gives the bait a different look, gives it a different presentation. It keeps that bait in the strike zone longer than you can with a traditional jerk, jerk, pause. Now, there's several different ways that I like to fish this particular bait as far as areas go. Since the bait is getting deeper and since I'm targeting deeper water, a lot of times I'm on these steeper channel banks like we have in front of us right now, where the water drops off fairly quick from the bank. You can fish this bait two different ways. You can make a long parallel cast to the bank like this and get that bait down, into that 10, 12 foot zone, fairly quick. Or you can actually get out and cast straight into the bank and get that bait to dive straight down, particularly in the clear water, super cold water months. A lot of those fish in the clear water lakes, like here in the Ozarks where I live, right now we've got water temperatures 38 degrees, air temperature is really cold. It's so cold now my hands are numb. It's in the 20s right now. And when you're in these clear water environments, you can pull those suspended fish out of that super deep water, out of that 30 foot of water. You can not only trigger those little wolf packs that are suspended down there like 15, 25 feet deep, but you can actually pull those fish off the bottom. They're sitting on the bottom in 20 to 25 feet of water, which is unheard of for traditional jerkbait fishing. A lot of people talk about wind or lack of wind in jerkbait fishing, and most of the time, if I'm fishing in the winter time like we are right now, I don't want much wind. In fact, less wind the better. And the reason for that is the fact that you're fishing the bait fairly slow, you're letting it stop and suspend a lot of times. If you don't have a lot of wind, you can really finesse through an area a lot better. You can take your time, you can let that bait set without getting a big bow in your line. And since the wind doesn't actually help you generate a strike under those conditions, your casting angle has a lot to do with your ability to generate the strike on a jerkbait. If I'm fishing in the winter time, like it is right now, I never ever cast into the wind, because not only you lose contact with your bait, but you can't get the bait near as deep when you cast into the wind. Most of the time I like to cast with the wind, or at least at a 45-degree angle. There he is. 110+2. Bait was down super deep, probably about 15 feet of water there. Just a little lethargic. Pro Blue model, 110+2. Main lake point, boat sitting in about 25 feet of water. Bait was probably down, I'm guessing 10 or 12 feet. And that's what you want in this cold water situation. Water temperature 37, 38 degrees here. These fish are hanging out, in 10, 12 foot of water, which this bait targets perfectly in that.